Charles is not the pushover that the press seems to think he is and that they're trying to present him as being. He has not been taking his son's calls for some time now. He will not be exploited by his son.
Harry has tried to make contact repeatedly, but William won't take his calls. He is not minded to a reconciliation at all.
Prince William and King Charles refuse Harry's calls over Meghan Markle UK return, and suddenly the silence is louder than any royal scandal we've ever heard. Because this isn't just a family ignoring phone calls, this feels like a calculated shutdown, a deliberate freeze out that exposes something far deeper, far colder, and far more strategic happening behind palace walls. The reports didn't just whisper it, they practically screamed it. Harry has been calling repeatedly, desperately, almost relentlessly, and yet both King Charles and Prince William have chosen not to answer. Not once, not recently, not even out of courtesy. And that silence, it doesn't feel accidental. It feels intentional. It feels final. Because here's where things start to unravel in the most uncomfortable way possible. For months, headlines painted a completely different picture.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are preparing to return to the United Kingdom for their first joint visit in 4 years.
Harry and Meghan are expected to bring their children despite previously refusing to visit Britain as a family due to security concerns.
A softer King Charles, a father quietly working behind the scenes, a monarch supposedly trying to heal the wounds. But now, that entire narrative is cracking. Suddenly, Charles is being described as someone who refuses to be exploited. That word alone, exploited, it changes everything. It suggests fear. It suggests mistrust. It suggests that whatever Harry is saying on those calls, it's not being received as reconciliation. It's being seen as something else entirely. And then there's William, the brother who isn't just distant, he's reportedly furious, not mildly upset, not cautiously guarded. Furious, the kind of anger that doesn't fade with time, it hardens, it settles, it becomes policy. And when a future king turns his emotions into policy, that's when things become irreversible. So what exactly triggered this shift? Why now? Why this sudden wall of silence? Because just days ago, something was quietly set in motion.
Back on his own, because he's got stuff to do for Invictus, but part of this visit was actually going to visit the final resting place of Princess Diana. And what a beautiful thing that would be for the young kids particularly, to go and have some understanding of where their grandmother is now and who she was and all of that. But as I say, big question mark about whether it's happening.
Harry and Meghan, along with their children, were preparing for a return to the United Kingdom. A return that, on the surface, looked almost innocent. Family reconnection, children meeting relatives, a soft re-entry into royal life. But was it really that simple? The last time Meghan stepped onto British soil was in 2022. A funeral, a moment wrapped in grief and protocol. Now, 4 years later, the timing of her return suddenly raises eyebrows because nothing about this moment feels random. Look closer. The Invictus Games, Birmingham, a global stage, a guaranteed spotlight. And suddenly, the entire visit begins to look less like a family reunion and more like a carefully positioned move, a strategic appearance, a chance to rebuild relevance where it matters most. And that's where the whispers begin to turn sharp, because reportedly, Harry wanted more than just an appearance. He wanted Meghan and the children involved, integrated, visible, introduced to both the Windsor and Spencer sides of the family.
Because he's been denied his royal security protection. Now, he seems to have assumed he was going to get this. Of course, has been a battle now that's going on for many years. He's repeatedly said he will not return to the UK with Meghan and the children unless he has the full level of royal security. Now, he's been denied that yet again.
A full circle moment, a symbolic reconnection, but also a powerful image. And then everything collapsed, not slowly, not quietly. Suddenly, security, that single word, brought the entire plan crashing down. Because without taxpayer-funded protection, Meghan's return becomes complicated, risky, almost impossible. And just like that, the entire UK visit starts to feel unstable, conditional, uncertain. And this is where the tension spikes. Because what does Harry do next when his plan begins to fall apart? He reaches out. He calls. He tries to reconnect. But instead of help, he meets silence. Cold, unyielding silence. William refuses to engage. Charles refuses to answer. And suddenly, Harry isn't just dealing with logistical problems, he's facing emotional exile. But William's reaction? That's where the real story hides. Because this isn't just about a missed call. This is about a line that William believes was crossed, and not just once. The Oprah interview, the Netflix series, the memoir. Each each one wasn't just a revelation, it was, in William's eyes, a betrayal layered on top of another betrayal. And trust, once shattered like that, it doesn't rebuild.
Understood that William has made his feelings about any reconciliation clear to his father. William is known to hold a grudge, and more than that, he cannot forgive his brother for what Harry has put his family through, one source.
It calcifies into something much colder. So now we're left with a question that no one inside the palace is answering out loud, but everyone seems to be thinking, if both the king and the future king are refusing to even speak to Harry, then what exactly are they trying to protect? And more importantly, what are they afraid? Might be said if they do, and just when it seemed like the silence couldn't get any more deliberate, the contradictions started piling up in ways that made the entire situation feel even more calculated, even more controlled, and far more revealing than anyone expected. Because King Charles, the same man once portrayed as quietly orchestrating reconciliation, is now reportedly doing the exact opposite. Not answering, not engaging, not even entertaining the possibility of a conversation. And when a father refuses to hear his own son, especially in a family built on image and tradition, it raises a chilling question. Is this about protection or prevention? Because the deeper you look, the more uncomfortable the reality becomes. Harry doesn't just lack access to his family, he no longer has a place within the system at all. No permanent residence, no secure base, not even the symbolic safety net that once came with being a royal. Frogmore Cottage is gone. Windsor Castle refused him. Even temporary arrangements were rejected. And suddenly, this isn't just emotional distance, it's structural removal.
So that's very good to hear that it's not just William who is rejecting Harry's phone calls, it's also Charles who is doing so. You're also, of course, completely right to point out that it's Harry who has massively capitulated here. Nothing has changed in terms of the security arrangements or the offer to stay at royal palaces. Those offers have existed previously. So Harry is the one who, in Tom Bower's words, is crawling back.
A quiet dismantling of access that feels too precise to be accidental. And yet, despite all of this, Charles is still described as wanting peace, wanting to see his grandchildren, wanting perhaps a moment of normalcy before time runs out. But even that desire is being viewed through a darker lens. Because now there are whispers, uncomfortable whispers, suggesting that the children themselves may have become part of a strategy, a lever, a pressure point, a way to reach a father who is already vulnerable. That's the part that changes the tone entirely. Because if even a fraction of that is true, then this isn't just a family conflict anymore. It becomes something far more unsettling. A situation where emotion and strategy blur together so tightly that it becomes impossible to tell where one ends and the other begins. And William, he sees it. Or at least he believes he does, which is why his position hasn't softened, not even slightly. In fact, if anything, it's hardened into something almost unmovable, because William isn't just thinking as a brother anymore. He's thinking as the future of the monarchy. And from that perspective, every conversation becomes a risk. Every interaction becomes a potential leak. Every private word becomes something that could eventually reappear, reshaped, reframed, repackaged in another interview, another documentary, another headline that the palace cannot control. And that fear, it's not imaginary. It's based on patterns, on history, on what has already happened. So now the solution becomes brutally simple. Avoid contact, eliminate opportunity, say nothing that can be used later. It's not emotional, it's strategic. But even within this calculated silence, there's tension, because Charles and William are not entirely aligned. One wants distance for protection, the other perhaps still feels the pull of family. And that quiet divide, it's creating a fracture inside the very core they're trying to defend. Meanwhile, Harry's motivations remain under a cloud of suspicion. He says he wants his children to know their roots, to understand where they come from, to meet the family tied to their history. And on the surface, that sounds reasonable, even sincere. But the timing, the urgency, the sudden push now, it raises a question that no one can ignore. Why now? Why, after years of distance, years of public criticism, years of separation, does the need for connection suddenly feel so immediate? And that's where the tension refuses to settle. Because even if a meeting does happen, it won't be what people expect. It won't be warm. It won't be open. It won't be forgiving. It will be controlled, restricted, observed, a moment defined not by trust, but by caution. A father and son in the same same room but separated by invisible lines that cannot be crossed. And even that is uncertain, because behind every possibility, there's hesitation. Behind every plan, there's doubt. And behind every silence, there's a story that hasn't fully surfaced yet. For now, the monarchy stands firm. No calls answered, no doors fully opened, no risks taken. Because whatever Harry is trying to say, whatever he's trying to fix, or perhaps whatever he's trying to achieve, Charles and William have made one thing painfully clear. They are listening by refusing to listen. And maybe that's the loudest message of all, because in a family built on tradition, power, and carefully controlled narratives, silence isn't empty. It's a decision. And right now, it feels like the story isn't ending. It's only just beginning.